Licensing Subcommittee, and thank you for attending. I'm Councillor Janet Evans, and I will be chairing this meeting. The committee for this hearing comprises Councillor Marie-Therese Rossi and Councillor Linda Wade and me. We are joined by Paul Phelan for the Council's licensing team, our legal officer, Lindsay Lemasurier. Also with us are our committee officers, Emily Beard, Yusuf, there you are, thank you, and Yusuf Olo and Tommy Hannah. Now, before we start the hearing for this case, just a few ground rules, please. Keep your microphones, no microphones, keep your phones off. Until you are invited to speak, as only 2 microphones can be in use at any time. Please make sure mobile phones are on silent. We are being streamed live, am I correct? Thank you. The case before us today is to consider objections from the police and environmental health to a temporary event notice given by Mrs. Andreen Irving in relation to an event that she proposes to hold in the front garden of 220 Westbourne Park Road, London W11. Now for declarations of interest, I confirm that I have no declaration of interest to make regarding this item. Do the other members have any declarations to make? No. Thank you, colleagues. For clarity, I will outline the procedure of the meeting, which has already been circulated with the papers. First, the licensing officer, Mr. Phelan, will give a brief outline of the notice. Please, could you confirm your attendance?
Good afternoon, Chair.
Thank you. Then the premises user is not here, and there's no one here to represent her, correct? Then questions may be asked by members of the committee and the legal officer. Next, the police.
Okay, Mr. Rankin was appearing when I did it.
Oh, you're appearing for the
police.
Yes.
Okay. Instead of Mark Perry is not here. You're Mark Perry. They're both.
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Rankin's a legal advisor.
Right. Okay. And will you each be speaking 10 minutes?
No.
No. Okay. Then questions may be asked by members of the committee and the legal officer of the police, followed by questions from the environmental health. Next, Mr. Keith Mahaffey will be joining us remotely to present his objection. Has this been confirmed that he can reach us?
Yes, I think so. I think it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Madam Chairman, I'm
Oh,
here.
great. How are you?
I'm very well. Nice to see you, madam.
Thank you. You'll have up to 10 minutes to do so. Thank you for confirming your attendance, Mr. Mahaffey. Then questions may be asked by members of the committee and the legal officer of environmental health, followed by questions from the police. After this, we will ask our legal officer, Ms. Lemasurier, to deal with any further questions she may have. Please, could you confirm your attendance? Yes. Finally, we will turn to the governance team to see if any issues have been raised that we need to consider. There will be no summing up and the meeting will end. The committee will then go into private session for 15 minutes to consider their decision. They will then return to announce their decision shortly thereafter. I would like to remind everyone that the committee has read the papers which comprise the main pack that has been circulated to the party, so there is no need to repeat that content. But please do draw our attention to certain points and pages. Let's get going. Mr. Phelan, please can you outline the case for us and advise if there has been any additional documentation?
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, everyone. Miss Andreen Irving has submitted a temporary event notice to hold a temporary licence board event on Sunday the 25th and Monday the 26th of August between the hours of 1 p.m. and 7 p.m. each day. Ms Irving is seeking permission for sales of alcohol on and off the premises and regulated entertainment within the front garden of the premises, which is located at 220 Westbourne Park Road, London, W11 5EP. A copy of the notice and plan are attached to Appendix A of today's report. This notification has attracted objections from both PC Alexandra Wyatt of the Metropolitan Police on the grounds of the Prevention of Crime and Disorder and Public Safety, and Mr. Keith Mahaffey, a Principal Noise and Nuisance Officer for RBKC, on the grounds of public safety. A full copy of both PC Wyatt's and Mr. Mahaffey's representations can be found at Appendix B and C of today's report. Finally, Chair, I can confirm that there are no additional documents in relation to this 10, and that effectively concludes the summary of this notification. I'll leave it there for now. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. So we do not have the premises users case, but Mr. Phelan, can you confirm, please? The Ms. Irving's application is for the front garden, is that correct?
That's correct, Chair. Yes,
But she lives on the first floor. is
that's
that
my
correct?
understanding. Yes, Chair, that's correct.
And do we know who lives on the ground floor, or do they have any connection to this party?
I can't comment on that. I'm afraid, Chair. I'm not aware of who would live on the ground floor or their connection to the premises user in this instance.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Phelan, since the applicant is not here?
Yeah, I have a question about if the party is meant to be taking place in the front yard, and they've also asked for servants as well for off sales, which to me implies that it might spill outside the garden because people will be able to buy drinks in the garden and then go onto the street with the drink.
Theoretically, with the observer, that would be a viable option.
Thank you. Do you have any questions? Mr. Phelan? Any
No
questions? Okay. Now for the police case. Mr. Perry, do you want to speak?
Yes, Chair.
Mr. Rankin is speaking.
I can do this very quickly.
Yeah.
On the one hand, you've got Mrs. Irving, who wants to put on a party for friends and for members of the public and to sell them alcohol and to put two 1,000-watt speakers on her balcony, blasting music out. And on the other, you've got the police who have wider interests. As you can imagine, a huge amount of planning goes into the Notting Hill Carnival. And one of the key features is that we want pedestrian traffic to keep moving. We don't want areas where people can congregate. And Mrs. Irving ran this event last year without the benefit of a temporary events notice, and it caused difficulties. People congregated listening to the music, and you'll see reference in the papers to people climbing on the bus shelter, which is immediately opposite her garden, and dancing on the top of it. That's just the sort of thing that we want to avoid. Now, I can say this, that if Mrs. Irving had just applied for alcohol, we wouldn't have too much of a difference. But she's applied for both, and you're seized with an application for both. And you have only two options, either to grant in the form that it was asked for, in other words, both activities, or to refuse. And we would respectfully ask you to refuse. It's unfortunate that it's an 11th hour consideration. Your policy is terribly important on these things. It lays down precisely when they should be making their application. And it should have been done 6 weeks before Carnival. In other words, the 17th of July. She didn't do it until the 8th of August. So we've done the best we can. And you'll see the email chain where there's a certain amount of ping pong going between the parties. But the fact of the matter is that she has no risk assessment. She has no event management plan. We are not told about any stewards. And you're quite right, Councillor Rossi, that because of the off sales provision, you're going to get a larger congregation than 60 people, which is what she's asked. So our appendix B, or your appendix B, page 17, lays out Alexandra Wyatt's letter of objection. And essentially, that is what we rely on. I've got Mr. Perry here, just in case you want to ask any detailed questions, but unless I've got it very wrong, that's where I was going to leave our objection.
Any questions from the committee?
Yes, Mr. Rankin, you said she's applied for both. By that, do you mean the speakers and the alcohol?
Exactly.
Okay. Councillor Wade?
I can see the email, correspondence, but I wondered whether anybody had actually spoken to the applicant.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor. I believe my colleague, Peter Watt, had tried to make contact with her and there had been conversations, but I think I tried several times to phone her and left messages on her phone and tried to get hold, but I didn't hear any calls back. I think ultimately, as James has said, this is something that could have been sorted out through negotiation, but sadly, those negotiations with us never took place, and obviously with the council, as Keith will speak to, they broke down. We can't have when we're trying to manage 1 million plus people, we can't have people blasting speakers, music out that encourages people to climb onto bus stands where they could injure themselves. More importantly, where they can prevent the flow of people, and where you get people congregated and stuff, that crime disorder is much more likely to take place. That forms a harsh objection.
Would you think that the applicant understands that last year's 10 wasn't complied with?
I think that Keith will be able to speak to that. I think he had a conversation with her, but I think any reasonable, rational human being would see people climbing on a bus stand and dancing to music while intoxicated to something is not perhaps ideal.
Thank you.
Okay, I will hold my questions for Mr. Mahaffey. Any questions from our legal advisor?
Should there have been 10 last year for what was done last year?
Was the return last year?
Not as far as I'm aware now.
No, I didn't think so either.
Wasn't.
But it gives us a snapshot of how the premises would operate if they had it there.
But they should have had one, but they didn't have one here.
And my belief is that Mr. Mahaffey's team closed it down.
I do want to know, in your opinion, Mr. Perry, can that crowd be controlled? Because there's not really any barrier except a tiny cement wall.
It's a very good question, Chair. It's very much a question that you have to judge each crowd on the various elements and dynamic. In that area where it is congested, you have many people flowing. You imagine a stream flowing down and there's a couple of big rocks. And so the water gets diverted around it, it can cause problems. And the same with this, where you have people stopping to listen to music, they see a few people dancing, then more people stop. More people stop dancing, then more people. Before you know, you've got a crowd of 200 or 300 people there, and that really increases the risk of crime and disorder taking place.
Do you think its location opposite House Square makes it potentially more difficult to manage?
Absolutely, because there is such a flow of people going past there, it's sort of the effects are almost magnified. Magnified. And I think going back to Chair's question as well, is that you could, if you threw enough resources at it, absolutely could. But the fact is, this is a Thames applicant who is selling alcohol from their flat and playing DJ music from their speakers on the balcony. They're not going to have the kind of resources to manage it. We left for the police and local authority to do, which we have enough problems making sure the carnival is safe for everyone without picking up other people's work.
Do we know whether she's ever engaged with the Notting Hill Carnival organisers? And is this area within the demise?
It is in the demise, as far as I understand it. She has not engaged with me. Obviously, people will be able to speak to the sort of like contact he's had with her. But I don't think there's been anything previously. I think the first contact was last year when she was playing the music, which caused the problems.
Thank you.
Thank you. You had another question?
I did, but it's escaped my mind, so I'll come back to it in a minute.
You can always ask. Okay. Mr. Mahaffey, can you turn your camera on, or are we using voice recognition? Hello.
Hello. Madam, Mr. Rankin has given an extremely good synopsis of what happened last year. I had personal involvement in this in 2022 when I last did Carnival. And clearly what I found was people dancing on top of the bus shelter. Now that was the year that we had people injured when the bus shelter collapsed in Ladbroke Grove from the sheer weight of people on it. So clearly the concern is these bus shelters were not meant for people to be standing on and for people to jumping up and down on. So there is always the risk of a bus shelter coming down on top of people underneath it. And this is the thing. What did concern me when I spoke with the lady in 2022 was I said to her, are you not monitoring what's happening outside your front entrance? And she was totally oblivious to the crowd. She wasn't doing anything to manage it. She wasn't even monitoring it. She was just creating a very, very unsafe situation. And you can't have that at Carnival because this is one of the main thoroughfares to go from Powell Square and Ledbury Road, where we have all the sound systems, right down into All Saints Road. And we have all the sound systems up in St. Luke's Road. It's a very dangerous thing for her to do. And, you know, if you have crowd crushing or any form of disruption of crowd movement, then there's always possibility of people falling and an unsafe situation arising. And she didn't seem to want to even be concerned about that when I spoke with her. But anyway, I spoke with her this year and I said to her, look, you don't need a temporary event notice if you're only entertaining people on your property. But what you're doing is you are setting your speakers on your first floor balcony and you are playing it so loud to entertain in the garden that people are actually being entertained in the street. And that is where the temporary event notice is required. I tried to get her to bring her speakers down into the garden so she doesn't have to run them at the volume at which she normally did. I've had conversations with her, I engaged with her to basically say to her, look, we have no issues with you selling alcohol. The big issue here is the regulated entertainment, lack of risk assessments, lack of event management plan, and lack of safety that issues that we've experienced over the last couple of years at Carnival. And I was of the impression that she was going to withdraw the regulated entertainment, and then I found out that she didn't. And that's the reason why we had to put an objection in, because we can't have a sound system at this location. People can't just turn up at Carnival and play music. You know, we have to make sure Carnival's safe. And if people turn up and just play music, there's always a risk of the unknown, of people getting hurt, getting injured. And that's just the nature of Carnival. There was no liaison with the organisers because I did ask her that question. She just wanted to do her own thing inside her garden and sell a bit of alcohol to her friends who are coming in. And that's the reason why, without risk assessments or any sort of management, safety management, we considered that this application should not be granted. It would not promote the public safety key objective, and therefore a temporary event notice should not be granted here.
Thank you. Any questions from the committee? Councillor Wade?
Mr. Mahaffey, you did say something interesting insofar as sell alcohol to friends in her front garden. How many friends do you think she might have? Because, I mean, as far as I can see, you've got a gate which anybody can walk into the front garden. So it can't be just a party for friends by definition.
Well,
Yes,
when I
that's
asked her that question, she said that her rum punch is very expensive, and she feels that her friends should contribute to it. And that was the answer she gave me. She didn't seem to want to be selling alcohol to people in the street, like other people. But there would have been no issues if she had, because she could do the sale in her front garden. She wouldn't need a street trading license. But we wouldn't have had concerns about that if she provided all the right documentation to ensure that she sold alcohol in a responsible manner. But my colleagues in the police would be more interested in that than what I would.
Mr. Mahaffey, since you're on the point, how is she selling it? Is she selling it in the garden? Is she selling it in her house on the first floor?
She had she had everything out in the front garden. It was something that she was doing. She was entertaining her friends in the front garden in 2022. And I understand the situation was the same last year in 2023 when we visited. But the whole thing about it is she has no issue. There is no issues with her playing music in the garden. She just doesn't need to entertain off the premises. And I sent emails to her and I tried to explain this all to her subsequent, and I said, look, you can withdraw your temporary event notice for regulated entertainment. All you need to do, if you want to sell alcohol, is go forward with it. But she decided against it by not doing so.
But also, if it is just her family and friends, she could ask them, you know, give me a tenner. She could ask them to contribute. She wouldn't have to be selling drinks in that way if it's really for her friends.
Yes, well, that was the question I was trying to establish: is why was she going to charge her friends for her rum punch? But you know, at the end of the day, if a sale takes place, it's better to have a temporary event notice in place to permit it.
Were there any incidents last year? You referred to 22, but were there any incidents last year?
From my understanding, yes, there was. The same thing happened as we experienced last year. I think our colleagues had visited and made sure that she did manage her sound levels. We can't stop her having people in the premises and playing music in her garden. It's when the music is entertaining off the premises, that's when it becomes licensable. And she needs to be realised that with that comes responsibilities for public safety.
And Mr. Rankin referred to the council potentially having stopped the party. Do you have any background to that?
No, not. I didn't get a report from my colleagues, but I actually asked my colleagues, and they said yes, they'd been there last year.
Thank you.
Excuse me, I believe she also applied as part of it to charge people to go to the loo. Is that correct?
I can't remember. All I remember is the alcohol, is the music in 2022. I don't know what happened last year if she did that, but I would assume she probably
Maybe
has.
it's a free service to go with the drinks. Okay, so she would have then sell drinks in the garden and sell, is she letting people into her flat?
I can't remember, madam. I can't remember.
Okay, I'll call on our legal officer. Do you have any questions?
I think it's, so I just wanted you to confirm that in terms of the regulated entertainment, if she was just playing music in her confines of her garden, rather than having speakers on the balcony on the first floor blaring out generally, it wouldn't be an issue if it was just in the confines of the front garden. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Rankin, do you have any further questions?
I have no further.
Yep. At this stage, I'd like to ask our legal officer if she has anything to add.
Nope.
Nothing to ask.
None.
Okay. Licensing officers,
Nothing from licensing, Chair. Thank you.
governance officers. Thank you. We've reached the end of this meeting. The committee now has all the information needed, and we will retire to make our decision in private session. We will return to this room in 15 minutes to announce our decision. A summary determination will be sent to the parties within 5 working days, and a full decision will follow as soon as possible thereafter. The time limit for appealing the decision will not commence until the full decision has been sent to the parties. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you. Yeah, we're back in 15.
That's why.
Please sit. Is Keith coming in on this or not? We're here. Sure.
Might not be. Don't think he is.
No. Is the streaming ready? Thank you. The committee has considered objections from the police and the environmental health to a temporary event notice, which has been given by Mrs. Andreen Irving, premises user, with the sale by retail of alcohol on and off the premises on Sunday, the 25th of August, 2024, and Monday, 25 August, 2024. Between the hours of 13 o'clock to 19 o'clock each day, the event, for a maximum number of 60 people at any one time. The committee has considered the committee papers and the submissions made by the parties, both orally and in writing. In reaching its decision, the committee has had regard to the relevant legislation, the Secretary of State's guidance, and the Authority Statement of Licensing, the SLP. In summary, the committee decided, after taking into account all the individual circumstances of this case and the prevention of crime and disorder and public safety licensing objections, we have decided to issue a counter notice under Section 105 of the Licensing Act 2003 for this event. This notice means permission for the licensable activities requested in the 10 has not been approved. The committee decided that allowing the 10 would be, in this instance, undermine the prevention of public nuisance licensing objectives. The prevention of crime, disorder, and public safety. And it determined to issue a counter notice under Section 105 of the Licensing Act 2003. A copy of the reasoned decision will be provided without undue delay. If the premises user would like to appeal against this decision, such appeal must be made to the magistrate's court within 21 days from the day of the notification of the final decision, but in any event, no later than 5 working days before the start of the proposed temporary event. We're almost past that. You know. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Have a
Just
great-
one small point of detail. In your preamble, you mention the sale of alcohol, but you don't mention regulated entertainment.
Yes, sorry, it should also include regulated entertainment, so you're refusing on and off sales and regulated entertainment.
I wouldn't want
Should have mentioned.
Mrs. Ellen to think that she'd
Got
have
that in,
regulated
yes,
entertainment.
Sorry, that was an omission, or that's a typo on my part.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for your
Thank you,
time
Mrs.
and submissions.